Hello and welcome everybody to the Monster Vault 2 Discord AMA. This is the kickoff AMA we do at the beginning of every Kickstarter that we run. And today I have a lovely group of designers here with me today to discuss the amazing and scary Monster Vault 2. My name is Zach. I am the community manager here at Kobold Press. My pronouns are he, they, and I will be moderating today's little escapade of questions and answers. Megan, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Yes, my name is Megan Markle. I am the senior game developer and the lead editor on this project, Monster Vault 2, and my pronouns are she, her.
Let's pass it off to Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Madsen, game designer, mostly, well, not mostly, but I do a ton of Kobold Press stuff. I'm sure you've seen me in other things. Pronouns she, her. Yeah.
And last but not least, Mr. Mike Willem.
Hi, I'm Mike Wellham. I have been designing things for Kobold Press for over 10 years now. You've probably seen my name in Legendary Games products and a few Paizo products back in the day. And I'm excited to have these monsters unleashed.
Amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kick us off with an initial question just to let people kind of funnel their questions into the chat. But then after that, it's going to be purely chat supplemented questions. So, Megan, with Monster Vault 1, we know that it had a few unique and original creatures, but they were primarily reimaginings and reinventions of the 5e Creative Commons creatures. What can we expect from Monster Vault 2? Is it going to be some Kobold 5e monster updates, mainly original stuff? Kind of break down what the book looks like overall for us.
It's going to be like I think 92 to 93% wholly new creatures. We are bringing very few, some of our 5e favorites, bringing them forward, mostly to support things like Labyrinth and everything. Because for those that don't know, Labyrinth World Book, we had the Kickstarter for that late last year, I think. Was it October or something like that?
Around that time frame,
So
fall.
there are some things that were referenced in that book or that were needed for that book. So we're like, all right, well, we'll put them in Monster Vault 2. So we have a few things that we are updating, but yeah, probably about 93% of the book is wholly new creatures, stuff that you guys haven't seen before. It's gonna be awesome.
93%, guys. And it's so funny too because every single time we post about this Kickstarter, people always comment like, how are they still making new monsters? What do they do? Where are they finding these new creatures? So it's super cool to hear that even our fifth, sixth book in for bestiaries, we're still making new stuff.
Yeah, I love how when people ask that, it's like they assume that creative people can no longer be creative. And Mike and Sarah has some really crazy stuff. So like, I am fully confident that all of our designers are well equipped to keep making more monsters for years to come.
Absolutely. So kicking it off into our fan questions, we have our question number 1 from Spellcrafter. What inspirations did you take when making new monsters for Monster Vault 2? Sarah, let's start with you.
Oh, inspiration. I don't know. That's always a hard question because there's like no one there's no magic bullet inspiration, right? But generally, like I'll get a concept for a creature. So like if I'm like I need a monstrosity from the desert, um a lot of my inspiration comes from like thinking about what I can include that would surprise players because like Megan said, we've been doing this like a long time. There's a lot of monsters. And so being able to be surprising and interesting is really fun. So things that are surprising or horrifying, I think is where I get a lot of my ideas is I'm just like, what would make my players like scream and be horrified at the table? So
Absolutely, yeah. And what about you, Mike?
Uh, I have a similar approach to Sarah. I tend I actually split mine between kind of whimsical and horrifying. And if I can combine the two, I'm really happy with that.
Awesome. That's super cool. Let's move on to our next question because this one I warned you guys about it. It's always a difficult one, and I'm asking it early because I know we got a lot of AMA to get through. Out of the monsters that you guys created for Monster Vault 2, which Megan was saying before we started, you guys created like 30 to 40 monsters a piece each, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
A lot.
Yeah. So what would you consider your favorite monster to be out of those 30 to 40, and why?
I'll go ahead.
Sure. Yeah.
And I will note that if I were asked this question any other time, it could change. But for right now, um, my favorite monster is the Gorus. Um, and it's named because it's a torus shaped monster, but it has these kind of tentacles dangling off of it and fleshy bits, and it teleports itself by flipping itself inside out. Um, so it puts on this display of turning itself inside out, so it can. Yes, the first one, Wilson. Um, it flips itself inside out, basically grosses everybody out, and then appears somewhere else.
Oh wow.
That is
That
literally
is
horrifying. Yes, thank you.
yes. That is a special kind of nightmare. Thank you for that, Mike.
Sure.
What about you, Sarah?
Um, Possibly for me is maybe, I mean, I have a bunch that I like, but I like the Arachnoth, which is a spider demon. But unlike, you think spider demon and you kind of expect either a giant spider or like a Drider type situation, but it's like more like a humanoid with 8 legs that come out of their torso, and like they vomit scorpions, and it's fun. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember when we saw the sketch come through for the Demon Lord of the Arachnoth. I won't fully spoil that yet. But those things are freaking creepy. They're awesome. They're
I haven't seen
amazing.
the art yet.
Oh my gosh. It is so good. It's giving like a ton of different things that is just it's exactly everything you would want out of the art brief and the stat block and everything. It's great.
Amazing.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
that's
much for that question,
actually
Clax.
there's a funny story about the Arachnoth though. So Sarah pitched the Arachnoth to us, and we knew that we wanted to have some type of demon lord in the book, but we weren't really sure what we wanted as a demon lord. And we fell in love with the Arachnoth after Sarah pitched it. So we had somebody else design the demon lord that is like the upper lord of that. And the two of them got to work together to build the demon lord and the demon lord servitor, and that was really good. Sarah could probably speak more to that process, but for us, it was really neat to get a pitch that inspired us to commission a whole new monster to go with it.
That is super sick. I'm gonna ask this question from it's so far. This is my favorite question, guys. So let's keep getting some questions in there. Let's see if you guys can beat this question.
Okay.
Another question from. Oh, actually, sorry. This is our first one being asked from them. Crawley asks, "Which monster that you made makes the strangest noise?" I'll give you guys a second to think about that.
I actually I have a monster that's called the Grack, and that's the noise it makes.
Is Grack?
Yes,
Got
but
you.
with like more A's.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it looks like kind of like a heron, but pretty scary.
It's definitely not a heron when you get close.
What do you mean? It's just a little birdie.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally. Just a little birdie.
yeah. For me, probably the Phantasmid, which is like an aberration stick bug, for lack of a better description. But one of the things it does is it like clacks its many awful legs together and just makes this like terrifying noise that like scares you. So yeah, probably that one.
Amazing. Megan, out of any of the monsters that you've perceived in this 300 plus monster book, uh, can you think of any that would make a really strange noise?
Strange noise. Oh, that's don't know. You put me on the spot. I got 300 and something monsters I gotta look through.
I know.
I mean, if we want like something creepy that probably makes some interesting noises and or just is going to creep you out from talking to you, there's the Stitch cloak from Kelly.
Oh yeah,
It's
can you
like
can you tell us a
the
bit about that? Because that's totally not terrifying at all.
yeah, it's like this fiend that likes to live uh in the lower plains, usually along the river Styx, but it's Stitch cloak, and it sews souls into a cloak, so it has a cloak of screaming souls. So it probably has some interesting sounds coming off of it.
Oh yeah, I bet that one's just like super cheerful to be around.
You know, it's very like imagine if Edward Scissorhands, for those that are old enough to get that reference, imagine if Edward Scissorhands was like a demon that also like gathered souls and put them together and made them pretty.
Amazing. Um, I love all of these answers. Our next question is going to come from Gwydion. And they say, what was the most interesting bit of lore you created for one of your respective monsters?
That is a pretty difficult
Hang on, I'm scrolling. I gotta look.
I'm sorry, I should have sent y'all the because so for those that don't know our process, so for a book this big, right, we've got over 300 monsters going into it, and it's a bit ridiculous to ask like 4 people to design 300 monsters in a month. So we instead divided it into different phases. So that's why some of these are, some of these were ones that like Mike and Sarah wrote last summer, right? Um, so yeah, I should have sent you guys a big list of everything that you did. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. But yes, this book has been in progress for quite some time. 300 monsters is a lot.
one.
It's like 3 years ago in freelancer time. Um, hmm, maybe for me, actually, I don't know.
Here, I'll give you guys some time to think about it. I'm gonna ask another question right now. That's a bit of a more like Kickstarter oriented question. No one asks, are there any add-ons or goals for the Kickstarter you can announce at this time? So one thing I will say that is super cool about this Kickstarter is not only are you going to be able to pick up Monster Vault 2 in this Kickstarter if you have not picked it up already, or if you want to back it, but also you can pick up Monster Vault 1 if you have not picked that book up already. So you'll be able to get both bestiaries as well as the pawns. So we're doing something new for this Kickstarter. You'll be able to get both Monster Vault 1 and the Monster Vault 2 pawns as a part of this Kickstarter in your pledge. So that's super exciting. And then we'll talk about this later with Mike, but the Field Guide to Monster Harvesting, which is our book about how to turn these creatures, harvest them, and then create stuff out of them, is going to be one of the early add-ons for this book, and that's going to grow with time. So depending on how high the funding gets and how many stretch goals you guys unlock, we will not only have the creatures for Monster Vault 2, but we'll also go back and do things like Monster Vault 1 and Tome of Beast 3, and so on and so forth. And we'll just make that thing bigger and bigger. So we're super excited about that.
Yep. We also are going to have some guest designers if we hit certain stretch goals too, so that'll be fun.
Yes, I will be asking you about those in a moment because I'm super, super excited to bring up some of those people.
Well, I am not allowed to talk about any of them other than the fact that we will have some guest designers. So I'm sorry.
Is that true?
I do know that I'm not allowed to leak that.
No. The last time I read a message, they said leak it.
Yeah, and that was pulled back. I was told that I can't mention who. I'm just allowed to say that we will have some celebrity guest designers as stretch goals.
Dang.
All right, I think I found my piece of lore that I like.
All right, let's hear it. Most interesting piece of lore. Question from Gwydion, sorry. What you guys got?
So for me, I don't know if it's the most interesting, but it's a little tidbit that I like that I stuck in. So one of the monsters I designed is called an Oropod, and it is a tiny little monstrosity that, when curled up, looks just like a gold coin. So often they can get accidentally traded like they're gold, and they can get put, in bank vaults and things like that. And that causes its own problems. But one of the little bits of lore, because they're not very strong in by themselves, right? Because they're these tiny little like millipede critters, like tiny, like actual millipede size, coin size. Um, but they have like a paralytic venom, basically, that allows them to get away. Um, but one of the little bits of lore I included was that there was rumors that somebody sent a gift to a king, sort of as like a here is our little diplomatic tithe for you. And that it was actually like a thing full of oropods that emerged and all like swarmed the sovereign and killed him in his sleep because they were just these little teeny bugs.
Amazing. That it reminds me of the oddly enough, it reminds me of the Megan, you'll be able to remember what book this is from, the Snake of 100 Mage Hands.
Yes, that's Tome of Beast 2.
Yeah, it reminds me of that from
Funny you bring that one
top
up.
2.
That's relevant.
Oh, is it? How is it relevant, Megan?
Well, we have a question later about templates. I'll talk about it then.
Okay, super sick. What about you, Mike? What's the most interesting piece of lore you got?
Oh boy. The one that I had the most fun with, I guess. I like I like designing drakes and dragons, and I did the Shoreline Drake, which is a drake that has seal um, features, and I guess the fun bit about that was I was actually able to tie it back to a monster that's in the monster vault, the Selkie, and
Okay.
they have this basically unbreakable bond of friendship. So the shoreline drakes will leave their young with the Selkies, who will take care of them, and then the shoreline drakes in return will protect the Selkies when they get older and can go around and fight off, oceanic predators and those kinds of things.
Amazing. That actually is really interesting. It's almost like you built the circle of life into some stat blocks.
Yes.
That is super
And the
cool.
fun part about that is that because we designed in phases, so Mike submitted that as a Drake, and then we had someone else later on do a Fey Lady of the Selkie. So we have this like whole ecosystem that you can create just based off of the Selkie from Monster Vault 1.
That is super cool. Um, Speaking of super cool monsters, Megan, long before we started this AMA, we showed a cover art. And on that cover art was a very cool electrical giant monster terrorizing a town. Do you wanna maybe elaborate who our Sparky friend is on the cover of Monster Vault 2?
I can't, and there's actually a reason that I can't elaborate. So the fun thing that we did, or one of the fun things we did this time, is we actually have, and Sarah's one of them who's been working with us on this. Is we had artists. We told artists, "Hey, give us random monster designs." So we had a bunch of artists that were like that. We just gave them open the doors and we're like, "Make something cool." And there were about 15 of those, and the cover monster is one of them. We were like, hey, make something cool, right? And the cover artist made this like lightning fiend thing. And then right now we have some designers working to create the stats for all of those now that the artists have finished the art. So we actually have some monsters in this book that are going to be, they were art first and then they were designed. So normally we design monsters, the designers give us art briefs, and then we give that to the artist, and then the artist draws what we tell them to draw. But for these 15 monsters, the artist just got to do whatever they wanted. And we got some really unique and interesting things because it's not often that artists are told, hey, do what you want, give us something fun, we'll give it stats. So the cover monster, the lightning fiend on the cover there is one of them.
That's super sick. Um, I'm very, very excited to show off more of these artist-driven monsters. This is something that's kind of just like happened a couple times throughout our monster books history, right? But like it's never been like an official part of the process of doing artist-driven monsters.
Correct. I don't think that we've done, like, we might have done one or two. Yes, we had for Tome 3, the cover of the Tome of Beast 3 Layers book. That was a situation where we told the designer to make a cool cover. or told the artist to make a cool cover, and then we built the monster based off of that cover. But I think that's the only time we've done something like that for a monster book. So this is the first time where we've had like a big pile of monsters that are being like their art first, and then they're being designed.
I see.
And Sarah, I think, has 2 of them right now that she's working on. So that's exciting.
Yeah. I just submitted 2 of them, and then I'm coming up with ideas for a 3rd one. So yeah, it's a lot of fun because it's definitely a different take on the design process, right? Where normally it's up to me to come up with everything from scratch, whereas sometimes the artist can come up with really cool things. Because I mean, sometimes, all the time, but like it's an interesting design challenge, and it's a lot of fun.
That is super cool. So a question from Wilson asks, anything special for the early backers, for the people who back the Kickstarter? So people know from Labyrinth, our last Kickstarter, that we actually had a coin that you could get if you backed within, I believe, the first 48 hours. It was a River Styx coin. Super cool. Super excited to get that in everyone's hands. We are actually not doing a back within the first 48 hours. We are doing a, if you back before the project is funded, you will get a free STL of one of the monsters. So it's going to be a free downloadable STL file of, I believe, one of the creatures that was actually...
We can't. Nope. Can't say which monster. Dot told me you can't say which monster. We're just allowed to say there is an STL file of a monster if you back. STL, for those that don't know, those are the files required for 3D printing miniatures. So you will get an STL of a monster, and from my understanding, it will be made immediately available after the Kickstarter closes. And it will be something that you can upload to like mini printing sites. So like if you don't have a 3D printer yourself, you can send it. I'm not familiar with a bunch of 3D printing stuff, but you can send it to some of these sites that will print those miniatures for you. And you'll be able to get it that way. So even if you don't have a 3D printer, the STL file is still useful for you, or can be if you want it.
I wish I could have said it. It's okay. Sagan asks...
Sorry, Dot told me like an hour ago, don't tell them which one it is.
I see. You don't know what? She said don't say which creature, but she didn't say don't mention what it's related to. You can see the creature in the actual play done by Jesse Jurdak, Amelia Som, and all of those amazing people over at Roll for Initiative. It's featured in their actual play. So if you can find one of the creatures in there, you can bet it's one of the creatures that will be the STL. I completely said their name and then ghosted their question. Sagan, you ask, will there be pocket editions available at the start of the Kickstarter? We don't typically do pocket editions at the beginning of our Kickstarter. I believe like some like extremely high funding goal, we unlock pocket editions, but we typically do pocket editions after the fulfillment of a book. So you can expect to probably, maybe, possibly see pocket editions for Monster Vault 2 at some point in the future, but you won't see them during the crowdfunding.
Yeah, I believe we do pocket editions of all core books, so that's going to be all of our like large hardcovers. And I believe the turnaround time is usually 6 to 8 months ish after the hardcover releases. We then release the softcover pocket edition.
Yes.
But Kim would know the timeline a little better than that. But I think typically it's between 6 and 8 months after.
A question from Makita here. Do we get some adventures as stretch goals for this book? Megan, do you want to possibly elaborate on what kind of adventurous stretch goals will exist?
Yes, there will be. Well, I mean, it depends on how the funding and stuff. But yes, we do have some adventures that are stretch goals in this Kickstarter.
Amazing. Notice how guys, I can't leak the adventures because Megan's a rules lawyer, but notice how she said adventures and not adventure. A lovely question.
Depending on how high we get.
Yeah, Kim, our sales manager, does confirm for us in the chat. I'm saying it audibly for the recording. Pocket editions do typically release 6 months after the book is released, so you can expect to see them at that time. An amazing question from Megan's mother. When is the Kickstarter actually going live? Megan, do you know what time the Kickstarter is going live?
we're allowed to tell that? Is that
It's an
I
event in
don't
the
know how
Discord.
we've. Oh, okay. Then yeah, it's tomorrow at well, it's 7 a.m. my time because I'm West Coast, but I think it's what 10 Eastern.
10 Eastern, yes.
Yeah.
An answer for no one's question. They ask what VTTs are supported during the Kickstarter. Uh, so we're doing things a bit differently for this Kickstarter, I believe. Instead of making it to where you pick your VTT of choice in the add-ons, we actually just say you back a tier with the VTT, or you back to get a VTT, and then in backer kit you'll pick which VTT you get. But the 4 VTTs that we are supporting during crowdfunding are Alchemy, Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, and Shard. So those will be the 4. Roll20 is not an option, as Roll20 is not. It tells the Valiant's not live on Roll20 at this point. Let's see here. What other questions do we got? You know, I'll go ahead and. Oh, sorry,
Run
Megan.
out of questions. I do also have bullet points of cool things that are in the book that I'm allowed to talk about. So if at any point you run out of questions, let me know.
For sure. I definitely do want. I think this would be a good time because we're about halfway through. I do want to touch on this. Mike, I alluded to an amazing additional product that is going to exist within this Kickstarter, the Field Guide to Monster Harvesting.
Yes.
Can you please tell us a little bit about what this book that you've been working on is?
Okay. It was introduced in the Game Master's Guide, where you take bits and pieces of monsters, you harvest bits and pieces of monsters so that you can have kind of cool short-term effects. So let me pull that up. I have that here. I had it here. Okay, so you could get Ichor from, like a demon, and use that to add like fire damage to a weapon attack. It's short term because you're just harvesting little bits and pieces of it, and it's not like a full blown magic item. However, the Field Guide to Harvesting does have magic items that derive from the monsters, and this covers. I think hopefully I can say this covers all of the monsters back to Tome of Beast 1.
If we get all the stretch goals, yes.
If we get all the
The-
stretch goals, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The core book is just going to be Monster Vault 1 and Monster Vault 2.
Yep. Okay. So I had a lot of fun with that. It's an extension of the work I did with the Tome Un series, where I made a bunch of magic items out of the monsters that were in the various books. So a lot of fun.
Let's see here. Yeah, I'm super excited for the Field Guide, guys. It's honestly like I do love our Beast books. I might be more excited for the Field Guide. There are so many like attempts that have been made in tabletop at like a monster harvesting book. From everything I've heard about this and just how thorough I know Mike's being, like I am just super excited for this thing. It's gonna be a super cool product. And I'm very excited to unlock all the stretch goals, hopefully, and get all the way back to all the older monster books. It's super super sick. Yes, I agree with Spellcrafter in the chat. I want the monster harvesting book now. You know what? We've gotten lots of questions about like specific monsters, like Cyclops, giants. I just saw another question from Frog Prince about any new animal lords. Megan, can you kind of just cover like what the different kinds of monsters that we'll see in Monster Vault 2?
Yeah, sure. So for Frog Prince, I'm sorry, there's no animal lords, but we do have 4 new Fey lords and ladies. So that's kind of similar-ish. They are still powerful Fey, like the animal lords are. We've got a handful of angels. We have a new archangel that ties really well into the Labyrinth World book. So for those that did get the Labyrinth World book, there's an archangel in here that you'll really enjoy. We definitely have a bunch of new types of dragons. Both Mike and Sarah created new true dragons. And one of them will be in the preview PDF that will be available when the Kickstarter goes live. So you'll get to actually see that one in all of its glory.
Ooh, which one? Which one?
The adamantine.
Ooh, all right.
Yes. super excited for that one. I love how the art came out on it too, so you'll get to see that one.
It's so
I
slick.
guess tomorrow. Yeah, super cool. And then of course we have a handful of new demons, a handful of new devils, including a new demon lord and a new devil lord. We did briefly touch on the demon lord of spiders to go along with Sarah's Arachnoth, so that's fun. We had one designer who did a handful of like wax and candle themed monsters. So we have like a wax themed like demon, and we have a wax themed undead, I believe, like a skeleton type thing. Let's see, what else do we have? Scrolling through my spreadsheet here. Yeah, there's the Fey Lords and Fey Ladies. Mike did do a cool, because I did see somebody asked earlier about familiars. We don't have a lot in this book. I know a lot of our monster books, we have a good like 10 or so. I think there's only about 5 in this one, but Mike did do one of the cool ones. We have a new Flit Kith. Mike, you want to talk about the Flit Kith real quick?
Certainly. Actually, this was one that grew a little bit beyond my initial pitch, which was kind of fun. The initial pitch was a kind of a doll, kind of like the Raggedy Ann doll, and they're Fey, so they have a fascination with different types of cloth. So if they see some bit of cloth they haven't seen before, they're gonna snip a piece of that cloth, either surreptitiously or otherwise. And they can act as familiars, and basically they go around and with the person that they're the partner, and they give them tips on how to dress fashionably, and can basically improve their partner's ability to present themselves.
Yeah, they're super fun. When Mike pitched that idea, we were like, "Yeah, we really like this one. So can you make like 5 of them?" But we limited it to 3, but because the book has only so many pages. But yeah, we really enjoyed them. So, and that's
Yeah,
probably the most fun of this whole process is like those little collaborative things. I'm sorry, Mike.
yeah. If you had asked me earlier today, I probably would have said that was my favorite creature that I did.
See, the favorite changes every time you look at it. It's great.
It does.
Yeah. So for some others, we've got a handful new genies, some new giants. We got some more golems. Got some fun new hags. Got some really fun hags. Very creepy, because our designers are really good at creeping you out. So just so you're aware. Let's see. Got some more kobolds for the people that like kobolds. I'm a big kobold fan myself. I'm a little biased though in that regard. We did. Oh yeah, that's. Yeah. Okay. So that's neither one of you. Yeah. So we did expand on the mechadrons. So we introduced the mechadrons in Monster Vault. And that is one thing I will say. We introduced a handful of new creatures in Monster Vault. Monster Vault primarily had to be about us kind of covering all of the bases, so that if we're going into our own things, so we had to cover bases to make sure that you had all the stuff that you needed to play the core of the game. And in Monster Vault 2, we have a few places where we have expanded on some of those newer creatures. And the mechadrons are one of them. So now we have, so for those that are familiar with the mechadrons and read through their lore, they have this plan that they follow. This kind of like cosmic plan that just happens. And we now have the originator of that plan. So we have so if you want to have an entire campaign of mechadrons, we now have like the big boss mechadron that is the big, I guess, the best analogy would be like the elder brain of the mechadrons, essentially. So that'll be a lot of fun. Or it is a lot of fun. It'll be fun for you guys when you finally get it. What else? Handful of new Nagas.
While
Got
you
some
look
golems.
through, Megan, I do want to say we've seen this comment a couple times where people keep on talking about how fun it was to playtest. I do just want to take a second to shout out Project Chiron. That was actually the playtesting where we featured a lot of the creatures that people got to playtest. So if you guys are looking to playtest some of the future material from Kobold Press, make sure to check it out in the Discord. The next one is going to be Project Mischief. That'll start up later this year.
Heck yeah. Playtest feedback is really great. It's super helpful. I love it. Love it. It's so great to just see them out in the wild and see how people handle them and what they do in games. And because there's always stuff that you can't account for, right? Like you always try and think of like what'll be fun, and then you never know if it's gonna just completely murder all of the player characters, or it's like not nearly as hard as you thought it was gonna be, and so great.
Yep. It's always wild too how playtesters come up with things that you're like, I never thought of that. But okay, I guess that's how that works now. Or like, just poking holes and everything. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do gotta shout out to what Wilson said. For those who did get to participate in the playtests, that Kraken Bard subclass absolutely murked some of these monsters. But then again, I also did get to participate in a playtest where that Kraken Bard, or sorry, Barbarian, got to get murked by some of the monsters as well. It's really really cool getting to participate with the community as we get to tease these creatures in their development phase.
Yeah, let's see, going through. Oh, another thing that was a fun one to build off of. And oh, yeah, Sarah, you got to do that. So in Creature Codex, we introduced the Skeleton Monarch and the Zombie Lord. And we were like, well, they need a ghoul friend so that we can have this trio of like ghoulish, warlords. So Sarah got to build that ghoul lord and some of the lore tying all of them together. I don't know if you want to talk about that some, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm totally not looking at that entry right now. Hang on.
Yeah, that
No.
was phase one. So that would have been last summer.
Yeah, it was a while ago. No, I got to do the undead ghoul lord, like you said. But then kind of got to do the overall lore for all three of them. So it was a lot of fun, kind of finding the angles for all three of those. So there's the can I say? I'm allowed to say, right?
Yeah.
The ghoul lord, the skeleton monarch, and the zombie lord. So um, they may seem familiar if you have some of the older books, but they're sort of revamped and um, it's the same basic overall concept of the undead lord, but then kind of finding a new angle to hit it from. So, um, and the ghoul lord being a ghoul, it's a little bit more intelligent than like say a zombie. So that's a lot of fun.
Heck yeah.
Now,
I guess
I've
probably
dodged.
can't spoil all three dragons, huh?
I think so. We've spoiled the adamantine dragon.
Yeah.
I think it's okay if we spoil one more.
All right. Well, then, Sarah, do you want to tell a little bit about your dragon?
Sure. Yeah. So, hang on, my thing just crashed. Hang on. There we are. Yeah, I did the Corsine dragon. So it is a Fae-inspired true dragon. So it's not a fairy dragon. It is its own actual dragon. But yeah, it was a lot of fun because I wanted to kind of come at it from like what would a fairy, like if you take a dragon and you leave it in the Feywild for a long time, what would you get? So it's kind of this. Hang on, sorry. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about this guy.
I can probably do a description, maybe one cool factoid or something about it.
Sure. So it's kind of the slender dragon. So it came at it from a different angle. So it's dragon with dragonfly wings and like deer antlers, and it kind of holds court sort of in the canopies of the trees. If you were to be, in the Fey realm with all of the huge, beautiful wild trees and Fey, so it sort of like lives up in the canopy. And kind of has its own sort of unique Fey appearance to it. So I'm excited to see the art for it personally.
Me too. Yeah, we have I think we have one artist that does all of our dragons, so the dragons have this kind of consistent look.
Nice.
which is great. But that also means that he generally does one dragon at a time, so we don't always get to see all of them immediately.
How do you say that again? Coruscant?
I
Coruscant?
say Corsine, but
Coruscant. Okay.
yeah.
Very, very interesting. Now, Megan, I've
That's
dodged.
a good reminder, Zach. We actually are going to have a pronunciation key at the end of this book because that seemed to go over well in the first Monster Vault.
Oh my goodness! Thank
So
goodness.
we're gonna have a pronunciation guide, so you don't have to guess at how it's pronounced.
Amazing. That is wonderful to hear from my neurodivergent brain. Megan, I've dodged the question long enough. Our fans are rabid for it. Okay, I've seen the question a billion times. Templates. Let's talk templates.
Oh yay, templates!
Are they here?
This is my favorite
Are
because
they
I
are
was
they
the one who got
cooking?
to work
What's the deal?
on. I got to work on most of the templates, and by work on, I created most of them, so that was a lot of fun. Yeah, so we're gonna have 8 total templates, and one of them did go into playtest. It was the Grim. That was one that was not written by me. That was by Jeff. He's one of our other designers. So Jeff wrote 2 templates, and then I handled the other 6. And we've got, I don't know if I can say all. Well, they're all listed in the table of contents that's in the preview.
Mm-hmm.
So should I just tell people to wait for the preview, or should I just say there's 8 of them? Have fun.
I mean, you've said there's 8 of them. Have fun. So,
Okay.
I mean, if you want to drop one, I will say, there is a certain special thing that I've been told I'm allowed to leak at the end of the AMA that will make it to where they can perceive said templates.
Oh, okay. All right. I still have no idea what you're talking about, what you're allowed to leak, but that's fine. Yeah, so I guess we will say, all right, well, so we did halfway mention this one earlier, so I'll give you 2 because you guys have already seen the Grim. Those of you that playtested, you saw the Grim. For those that didn't playtest, the Grim is it's a template for kind of a pet cemetery type situation where you have a graveyard and you want it protected against both undead and grave robbers. So then you create, you usually take like a household pet, like a cat, dog, whatever you want, and then you do the special ritual, bury it in the graveyard, and it becomes this magical like undead that just keeps everybody out of the graveyard. That's the Grim. You discussed the snake with 100 mage hands earlier. We really liked that one. So when we were looking at what monsters were popular that we thought, you know what, these ones could use an update into Tales of the Valiant, and most of the ones that we did pick were a lot of the older ones. So back before some of our more updated, like math and all that stuff, right? And Snake with 100 Mage Hands was one that's consistently, like, everybody loves it because it's goofy and it's fun. So we decided, well, let's not bring that back. Let's just create a template out of that. So now we have a template where you can basically make any, like, little critter into essentially a snake with 100 mage hands. So you can have, like, a cat with 100 mage hands or a, rat with 100 mage hands.
A Coruscant dragon with 100 mage hands.
Well, it's for little things. It's I think the official title of it is the many-handed familiar. So it is primarily aimed at everything that like you would be able to make with like find familiar. So like the cats and the rats and stuff, because it's essentially the little helper that the wizard is like, you know what, I don't have enough hands, so I'm just gonna imbue my familiar with special powers, and now you have all of the hands. And for those wondering, we do actually have some guidance with GM permission of how you can turn your familiar into, or you can apply this template to your familiar.
Nice.
Dang,
So
and
many names.
just when we thought there wasn't enough player options in the field guide, here you go. You've got 100 mage hands for your players to play with.
Well, it's not exactly 100. I think we limited it down to like a dozen because trying to calculate like how many pounds can 100 mage hands hold, that's really obnoxious. So we tried to keep it reasonable.
That is super sick. No, we all see in the chat, everyone's rattling off with like what they want to give 100 mage hands. I personally prefer the snake with 100 mage hands with the 100 mage hands template. I really appreciate the person who said that. Yes, all of this is terrifying me as well, Kim. Um, do we have any last minute questions, Megan? Is there anything that you wish to have brought up as we wrap this AMA up?
Yeah, so we keep talking about monsters because this is a monster book, but I don't know if y'all noticed, but in Monster Vault 1, there was more than just monsters in it. So we are including stuff in this book that's more than just monsters. We have the big thing that we're previewing. I think the cheeky name we had internally for it for a while was Monster Menus, but it's essentially like little bundles that you can use to populate an adventure. So say you're like, hey, I want a tier 2 adventure. No, not eating them. I'm sorry. If you do like the idea of eating monsters, we do have a blog series. I think Jeff is the one writing that, but there's a blog
Yes.
series
Yeah, it's called
of
Magical
eating
Meals.
monsters. But yeah, we have monster bundles, and it's essentially like if you need to grab something quickly for an adventure. So either you're creating a dungeon or you want to just plot out a theme for your entire campaign. We have themes, and then we have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 of that theme. So what would be the boss monster for that tier? What would be the minions, the lieutenants, and all of that stuff? So then you grab the bundle that you want, and you can fill your dungeon with it, or you can build an entire campaign with it.
That is super cool. And so people are going to be able to use this really to help like build encounters and build adventures on the fly, yeah? This sounds like it's going to really help cut down on prep.
Yep, that is the goal, is we want to make the GM's life easy because it's not an easy thing to do and not a lot of people want to do it, so we want to help it be easier so more people will do it because we could always use more GM.
Well,
Nice.
yeah, the monster bundles is super sick. I'm super excited. We've got that. We've got the field guide. We're adding new options to new options for you when you're backing. We've got all these new and amazing creatures. I am going to go ahead and I think I'm actually going to do our last round of questions, last call for them. If anyone's got a question that they want to ask that got missed, Megan, if you got anything that's last minute that you want to bring up. Otherwise, we can do another round of just who we are and we can head on out of here.
Let me check. Was there anything else that we haven't discussed?
I love people asking like specific monsters. It's the cutest thing because I don't take it with like, oh, you don't understand that your question is too specific. It's, oh, you're so passionate that this creature it needs to be in this book. Like you're just so passionate that this is a creature that needs to be here.
I mean, we don't have any whales and dolphins because the whales were in Monster Vault 1, but we do have oozes. So for the person that's asking about slimes,
Megan, we do have a whale.
we do. Oh, we do have. Yes, we have. Well, they're not very happy whales.
No.
Well, I
But
don't
they
think this
are
person needs the whale to be happy.
But it is a whale. That's true. Sarah wrote a whale.
I
You
did.
want to talk about your whale, Sarah?
I wrote a bone whale. So it's giant undead whale that often is in the company of other weird sea creatures and can destroy your ship and curse your crew. So it's fun.
What exactly makes this whale so unhappy?
People eating like it's kind of like a particularly dislikes like fishing vessels and whaling vessels and fishing villages and stuff. So it's kind of a angry ghost, but not a ghost. So angry bone skeletal whale.
I see. So I do see someone asking this. So we're gonna have sea liches in this book too. So I can't confirm nor deny whether or not that's gonna exist. But what I will say is this bone whale that Sarah has so graciously given to us. You don't hear a smile on my face. What I was going to say is technically yes, because what you can do is you can take the lich template from Monster Vault 1 and put it on the bone whale.
Dun, dun, dun.
There you go. No, I'm giggling because y'all are about to be so happy with me with what I'm about to leak to you. But
someone asked about NPCs. Did we want to answer that?
Is there another question about NPCs? Where's that?
Yeah, it just came up.
It just came up, you said.
Yes.
No, I just see people screaming about the smile on my face.
Yep, yep. Yes, we do have NPCs that were in this.
Ah,
And
yes. I see the question.
the Arcane Grenadier that is the picture for the AMA. That's one of them.
You'll see some others. There's a couple of the NPC characters on some of the advertisements because those were some of the earliest like created creatures.
Yeah, I worked on
Correct.
the Diviner.
Yes, Mike did the Diviner.
Yeah, I did the Arcane Grenadier and the Monster Hunter.
Yep. You guys got to it before I did. I was trying to scroll to see who did what.
Now they're on top of it, Megan.
I know. I got too many things open.
It's okay. It's almost like you have to look at like 300 monsters or something.
Yeah, I mean, spreadsheets make it easy, but it's still a lot of scrolling.
Yes.
But yes, we have a little over a dozen new NPCs.
Alrighty, friends. I think that is going to be our final question for the evening.
Oh, we didn't want to do the one last one that Dot said was a good question.
There's another question?
Dot shared one.
I see it. Oh, okay. Well, we kind of asked this question at the beginning. So, but we can ask it again. And Hasa asks, what are some of the biggest inspirations for creatures you guys made, if anything in particular? It's kind of relating to the question that we talked about in the beginning, where we talked about inspirations.
Yeah, just being horrifying, really.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things where I'll just pull from something that I've watched, in a movie or read in a book. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, here's an opportunity for me to make a critter out of it.
Absolutely. I mean, you always got to channel like the best kind of nightmare, right? That's the
Yes.
key to making a good creature.
Yep.
We do have some cute creatures in this. Like, we keep talking about all the horrifying stuff. There are a few cute ones.
There are, yes.
Listen, Megan, I saw the sketch for the Stitch Cloak, and I haven't slept the same since. Okay?
Yeah, well, that's just because the sketch for the Gluckshund, I haven't seen yet. I mean, it's probably in. I just haven't seen it. But the Gluckshund is adorable.
No, there was like a
Oh.
cute little group of elementals too. I was like, I need these as plushies.
Oh, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, the cute little elementals. I think we have like a pebble golem too that's adorable.
Yep, I did that one. I hope
The
they're cute.
Quimbus is hopefully adorable.
Oh, yeah, that's the frog one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen the art for it yet. Yeah, Mark every now and then will give us a taste of some of the art. Usually when the artist has a question, but otherwise I don't get to see a lot of the stuff till the very end.
Yeah. I am doing one last scroll because I apparently keep on missing questions. I don't want to miss your guys' questions. I'll give this person their specific ask, Megan, because it actually is relevant to player's guide. Are we gonna see Frog Prince asks, are we going to see stat blocks for any of the lineages? So for example, like the Beastkin, the Siderian.
No. Mostly because a lot of those you can take because of how we broke out lineage and heritage, it's even easier to take a lineage and apply it to an NPC stat block. Even more so than it used to be, right? Because now a lineage is very like legitimately what they were born with, like what their innate abilities are. So then you just take that lineage and add that to a stat block, to an NPC stat block, and you've got an NPC version of it, right? So if you want a Beastkin mage, you just take the Beastkin lineage traits and just add those lineage traits to the mage stat block, and you're good to go.
There you go. There's your answer. You will never get a lineage stat block in a monster book. That's what I'm hearing. No, I'm joking.
There are some exceptions to some of those, especially for lineages that might be I guess the exceptions would be there are the lineages of the people that would go into adventuring, and then there are the people that just stay within their own culture and be better at what they're doing already. I guess is the best way to describe it. It's a weird way to describe it, but essentially, anytime a lineage would require it to be like a CR2 or 3 or 4 creature, right? Those kinds of situations, then a lot of times those lineages will have stat blocks, and then the player version of those is going to be someone who they spent more time off adventuring rather than being better at their claw attacks or something, right? So that's why there's going to be a disparity there between the player and the monster version.
Getting a little bit of a breakdown about monster balance. I love it. I think I think that's it. You know, a lot of someone says, "Did you know we love you guys? We love you too. That's the reason we do these books." You know, it's the reason I hear Megan constantly like pulling her hair about like trying to organize 300 plus monsters. But thank you guys so much for coming. We'll do one last round of who we are, and then we'll go ahead and we'll end it there. My name's Zach. I've been your moderator today. I'm the community manager here at Kobold Press. Any people who want to find me, you can find me here in the Discord, interacting with y'all. Megan, you want to go ahead and take it next?
Yeah, I'm the senior game developer at Kobold Press. I'm the lead editor and developer on Monster Vault 2, and you can find me. I guess the only place I really exist outside of Kobold is Blue Sky at GM Moonwolf. I don't do anything super exciting over there, but you know what? Welcome to follow me.
Sarah, Mike, whichever of you want to go first.
Okay.
Oh,
Go, Mike.
go.
Go.
Okay. I'm Mike Wellham. I'm a freelancer. Do work for Kobold Press, Legendary Games, and others. And yeah, you can find me at my name on Facebook or MD Wellham at Blue Sky. Although my Blue Sky is kind of quiet.
You have a blog too. You make monsters on your blog.
Oh yeah, I do. Yes, that's another one that. Well, let me copy the link.
How is Megan better at marketing you than you are, Mike? Come on now.
I'm terrible at it. Okay.
While he's grabbing that link, Sarah, do you want to go ahead and tell the people who you are, where they can find you?
Yeah. Sarah Madsen, freelance game designer, designing for Kobold Press amongst many others. MCDM and lots of people.
Yeah.
You can find me on Blue Sky at Unfettered Muse is my username. Also unfetteredmuse.com is my webpage that I probably need to update. But yeah, those are my two main places.
Amazing. And for those of you watching on YouTube, this is what happens if you decide to attend AMAs live. I often get to leak, tease, give some fun information a little bit early. And for all of our amazing attendees of the Discord AMA today, here is, I don't know, like a whole... How many hours is that? 13 hours early? No, 15 hours early. There's the preview PDF. For you guys to view. So go ahead and enjoy the full preview PDF for Monster Vault 2. We will see you all when the Kickstarter launches at 10 a.m. January 7th. Super excited to have you guys. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Kobold Press Monster Vault 2 Discord Ask Me Anything. And I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Yay, bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.